remember if I cried or if I laughed. I just remember I want my money back. I can't remember if it sucked or if I had a blast. All I know is at the end of the show, when the credits rolled, it said Filmtopiacast 3000.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Filmtopiacast 3000. I'm your host, Greg McIver, and with me as always is...
Nicky Boom Boom.
Nicky Boom Boom. On today's episode, we are going to talk about movies that we hate, that we loathe, that have a special place in our heart, and even though we hate them, we love them at the same time.
Yeah, now some movies are really like that. Some movies you dislike them so intensely, they're not forgettable. They
Right.
live on, burned, etched into your memory.
Yes.
And I think that's primarily what we're going to focus on here.
Yeah, the ones that kind of, just stuck with us over the years, just, the real great examples of just awfulness in cinema.
You would go to war against this movie.
Exactly. And again, some are slightly more endearing than others, but for the most part, these are the ones that you just want to crumple into a ball and toss into the waste paper basket.
Indeed.
One of the reasons we decided to talk about this is we mentioned this on our very first episode, the explanation for our name for the show. Filmtopiacast 3000 is an homage, if you will, to the great and wonderful Mystery Science Theater 3000, which in my mind is the greatest television comedy in all time and space.
Which the people from the now defunct Encyclopedia Dramatica, they agree with you. They've declared it the greatest television show of all time because it basically invented modern trolling.
Essentially, yes. For those of you that are not familiar with the premise of this wonderful, brilliant show, basically two mad scientists shot a man into outer space, into a space station, and every episode they would force him to watch a really bad movie with the thought in mind that out there exists a movie so bad that if somebody were to watch it, they would probably go insane, and then they would unleash that movie onto the masses and then take over the world. Mm-hmm. So they were basically searching for the one movie that would do that. So they would show this guy a movie every episode, but he had constructed out of some spare parts on the space station, his name is Joel, by the way, Joel constructed some robot friends to kind of help keep his sanity. He constructed a Crow T robot and Tom Servo, who would sit in the theater with him while he watched the movie, and they would sort of just shout wisecracks back at the screen, or they would make fun of it while they were watching the movie.
Helping Joel to retain his sanity somewhat.
Exactly. And it's just, when it worked, the comedy was gold. It was just top-notch. Nothing can top it. Not every episode was perfect. There were a few clunkers here and there, but for the most part...
I will say, because, we've lived together for a number of years, and I've been privy to many, many Mystery Science Theater episodes.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Well, no, it's great. And a few before I had known you, too.
Right.
And I do really like the show. I will say some of the episodes are better than others through no fault of the creators of the show. It's just because some movies they're just so painful.
Right.
They're just so painful. Not even the riffing and the hilarity. There are two specifically.
Okay.
That I've sat down with you and I've not been tired at all, and my brain just goes, no, we're not doing this, and shuts off, and I fall asleep. One of them is very famous. It's Manos, the Hands of Fate, which is known as one of the very worst. Not the worst.
Absolutely.
And the other one being the Skydivers.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. Manos, the Hands of Fate, which arguably is maybe their most famous episode. It's the one where the mad scientists actually apologize to Joel and the robots, which is the first and only time that has ever happened. Look, we know the movie was going to be this bad. We're so sorry, guys.
It was made on a bet by some Texas entrepreneurs, right?
It was made on a bet. Somebody bet a Texas fertilizer man that he couldn't make a movie, and he said, "Wow, put your money where your mouth is." So he made the gem that is known as Manos, the Hands of Fate.
Man, there's a poetic irony there's something really fun about the fact that it's a fertilizer man.
Yeah.
That put out that movie.
Yeah, there is something very beautiful about that. I would try to describe the plot of Manos to you, but it's
just experience it for yourself.
Yeah,
if you're able to stay awake
for the most part. And the other one that he mentioned, Skydivers, it's not nearly as well known as Manos: The Hands of Fate, but it was one of in a series of films that was directed by a very awful filmmaker. Whose name is I'm blanking on right now, but basically he did Skydivers. He did a movie called Red Zone Cuba, which was about freedom fighters parachuting into Cuba. I don't know. And then he did one called The Beast of Yucca Flats, which starred the incredible Tor Johnson, whom you might remember from Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Speaking of bad movies.
Speaking of very bad movies. He was the big chubby police officer in that gets turned into a zombie. Well, in Beast of Yucca Flats, he's back. And he is I don't know, he starts off as like some sort of well-to-do person that gets caught in a nuclear explosion and then wanders the desert just going and strangling people. The most unbelievable aspect of that movie is not that, he was a big man wandering the desert strangling people, was the fact that he actually started out as some sort of well-to-do person. I was like, I don't know about that. But anyway, yeah, they tackled movies sometimes which were really hard to get through. Personally, for me, I've always been able to get through Manos just because there's just something so shocking about the movie. Like, I can't kind of look away. It is very much like a car accident. But Invasion of the Neptune Men, which...
that one's painful, too.
Invasion of the Neptune Men is so painful that in the episode, they ran out of things to say about the movie. Well,
there's just that one dogfight sequence it's just a piece of stock footage. They found a 20-minute piece of stock footage and edited it into their movie.
Yeah, they edited it into their movie, and they intercut between the stock footage and then, a model, spaceship flying around. And it goes on for what seems like 20 minutes, and there's
nothing to say.
There's just nothing to say at that point, and it's one of the few times that, like, a few of them have like gotten up and gone out of the theater. It's like, I gotta take a break, and it's like, I don't think you should go out there, Mike. He's like, no, I'll be back. And he like comes back 2 minutes later. There's no oxygen out there. Pearl. There was a change up in characters through the show. Joel, the show's original creator, left during a wonderful episode called Mitchell. If you've not seen it, Mitchell is a cop movie starring Joe Don Baker, which, for those of you who are not familiar with Joe Don Baker, you'll probably remember him from the Pierce Brosnan James Bond movies.
As his American contact.
Yeah, he's his American contact, Jack Wade, in those movies. So, yeah, he plays a cop named Mitchell in the movie Mitchell, and it's
one of the two fantastic Joe Don Baker starred cop movies that they did on MST.
Absolutely, yeah. First one being Mitchell, which was riffed good and proper by Joel and the Bots, and then years later, they brought Mr. Baker back with a movie called Final Justice, where he plays a Texas Ranger, and he has to escort an Italian mobster, and like they get lost in Malta.
The whole movie takes place in Malta.
The whole movie takes place on Malta for the most part, and Joe Don Baker is just wearing the most ridiculous Texas cowboy outfit. It's a beautiful piece of cinema.
I will say, I think we're in danger into we're stepping into turning this into an MST.
Yeah. We don't want to do that. I mean, we could talk absolutely forever about this wonderful, beautiful show because again, it just offered us so much goodness. But sort of enabled to tie this to the topic that we're going to discuss, movies that we hate. It should be known that, a lot of these movies, the creators of the show did not, like some of them, they were like, oh, this is a treat and a treasure that we must riff and bring to the masses, but there are a lot of them that it was just absolutely painful.
Because there are still movies like that, like The Room, I think is one that, like, I can't hate The Room. It's
nobody can hate The Room.
It's just so much fun. It's a terrible movie.
Oh, it's easily one of the worst.
If you guys don't know The Room, you definitely should by now. You should. I mean, if you're on the internet, you should know The Room.
Yeah, look up The Room and Tommy Wiseau.
Yes.
It's
a really terrible movie that's become really famous in the past 5 years or so for being such a terrible movie, and people getting together, making drinking games about
There's
it, and
midnight showings of
midnight
it.
showings, and almost like some Rocky Horror style things where people will like shout out the lines or like throw spoons at the.
Yeah, there's a spoon motif going on with that movie. All I'll say is, yeah, the camera pans over at one point, and you see a little picture on a desk in a picture frame, and it's just a picture of a spoon for some
no
reason.
reason.
There's no explanation for it whatsoever. But yeah, definitely look up The Room, and Mr. Tommy Wiseau, who is one of the most brilliant actors you'll ever see in your life. Hi, Nick.
This is bullshit. I did not.
I did not. Oh, hi, Mark.
Oh man.
Oh, God. Anyway, yeah, we're getting off track a little bit. So, again, yeah, a lot of the movies they sat through, it was just absolute torture for them to do for the show, and, you know, they absolutely hated them. And Nick and I have sat through movies, and we've absolutely hated them. We don't
Sure.
have the ability to bring them to the masses and riff in order to provide some sort of catharsis. But a lot of movies out there that we don't like, that we absolutely find wretched, and we're gonna talk about some of them right now. Let's I'll let you jump off. What's a movie that
in trying to list some of these, I did try to avoid some of the more obvious ones, which I think we could make a whole episode on why I don't like Wolverine Origins or X-Men The Last Stand or Spider-Man 3. We all know that those are bad, and maybe we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
I wanted to bring a little spotlight onto some that I hold a particularly special hatred for, and I think that a couple of these I actually watched with you, so I think that you might agree with me on these.
All right.
The first one that I think has to be mentioned, it's the reason that we have the 45-minute rule in this household, which is that if a movie's really sucking after 45 minutes, you're allowed to fast forward.
Yes.
This is a movie called I'll Sleep When I'm Dead.
Oh, Jesus.
Which is a movie starring Clive Owen and I think
Malcolm McDowell's in it.
Malcolm McDowell's in it, and what's the kid from not John Rice Davis, but he has a name like that.
I know who you're talking about, but again, this is the show where we blank on names. So
right. So anyway, this had all the synopsis and the cast made it seem like it was gonna be great. It was I like Clive Owen, and it's a gangster movie starring Clive Owen, and his brother is killed under mysterious circumstances, and he's gonna find out who did it. And the whole it just dragged and dragged.
A very boring movie. And yeah, I like Clive Owen too. I mean, who doesn't like Clive Owen? He talks through his teeth.
It's very intimidating.
All the time. He sounds like a really pissed off Alan Rickman at times.
Yeah, this is a pissed off Alan Rickman.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this is the thing, is that he's a gangster that was like a boss, and now he's out of the game, and he's like
sort of like a bum or something like that.
Well,
when you first...
he's being like he's chopping down trees for he's being a lumberjack.
Yeah.
And then like his old lady friend calls him back into town and lets him know what happened, and there's a little grieving process, and then his friends kind of comfort him, and really I think that's what it is all the movie is about his mourning, and not about him being a gangster.
The revenge, and that's what the movie really leads you to believe that is going to be about, is him going after these people that have committed this awful crime against somebody that he cares for.
Right, and when you finally get to the revenge, it's really like Get Carter. It is not. It is like it's really unsatisfying, and really you're like, I can't believe I watched the whole thing.
Yeah, I think when it ended, I think we were just like, that was the movie. That was the movie. It was
because we kept reassuring ourselves, like, no, it's coming.
It's gonna get real badass here really soon.
And then I think it ends with him like staring gloomily out on a cliff, being like, "I'll sleep when I'm dead." I think that is the last line of the stupid, horrible movie.
And credits. Yeah, I remember.
And no offense to Clive Owen, because I like his other work.
I like
not this one.
I like your other work too, Mr. Clive Owen, but this was really, really just an awful movie with no tension, no pacing whatsoever to speak of. It was just people talking for hours about something that happened, and I'm gonna do something about it. But we've got to talk more first. And it was just... And
I don't mean to sound like a heartless troglodyte or something. Like, I will watch a slower paced,
Of
mournful
course.
film.
Absolutely.
But this is more of a case of like a movie not being able to decide what it was about, and
Exactly.
whatever it was about, it wasn't executed in an engaging way.
It's one of the few movies where I look back on it and I remember watching it and I remember the plot of the movie, but I don't know. It's very fuzzy in my head.
Yeah.
I think my brain is trying to protect me from it. So he's like, I won't let you remember everything, Greg. So yeah, that's pretty awful.
What else we got? What's one that you hate?
Oh, you know me. Over the years, I developed a special hatred for a series of movies.
Oh, I knew we were gonna get to this.
Oh yeah, it was inevitable, and there's going to be a fourth one in the works, and not everyone agrees with me, in when it comes to these movies, but whatever. I absolutely hate them. I think they're three of the worst movies, and soon to be four of the worst movies I've ever seen, ever, and these are the Transformer movies.
Oh yeah.
With Mr. Shia LaBeouf and Megan Fox in at least two of them, and then blonde replacement for Megan Fox in the third one. Don't
Poor John Turturro.
Oh,
I say
poor
poor John
John
Turturro, but he's
Turturro.
rich John Turturro because of these movies.
Yeah, he is sort of laughing all the way to the bank, and God bless him, he's making an effort when he is in the movie. He's really trying, because John Turturro's a fantastic friggin' actor.
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
Just his history with the Coen Brothers and other projects. He's
Spike Lee.
Yeah, Spike Lee. He's an absolute top-notch performer, and just to see him in these movies is just absolutely heartbreaking. Yeah, the Transformers trilogy, soon to be quadrilogy, are just absolutely awful, and certainly not in an endearing way either. It's just you've got basically 2.5 hours of Shia LaBeouf going no 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 no.
Right, because for me, I hate them too. And for me, here is what it is. Not only is it like, not only is it a rape of your childhood heroes.
Yes.
Because they're portraying the Transformers, which was such an awesome cartoon, in such a crappy way.
Oh my God, it's absolutely disrespectful.
Not only to me, other people will clearly disagree with me on this, but I think it's I can't say bad CGI, but it's bad design to me, because in trying to make the Transformers look like they really could be cars,
Right.
they make them look. I think they look like trash cans rolling around when they're fighting. I think they look terrible.
It's hard to keep track of them, and honestly, for movies called Transformers, you don't really get a whole lot of time with the Transformers.
Well, and that's the other thing. 95% of the movie is Shia LaBeouf stammering like an idiot.
Yes, that's pretty much what all of these movies are. And every once in a while, it's like, oh, we've got Transformers in this, and let's cut to the action, I guess. The action is an afterthought in these movies, and they really should be at the foreground. I mean,
Yeah.
It's called the Transformers, for God's sakes, or Transformers. I mean,
The main character should be Optimus Prime,
Yes.
not Sam Wiznicki or
Sam Witwicky.
Yeah.
The hatred of these movies has forced me to memorize all aspects of them. Just anywho, yeah, no, it's called Transformers, but they're barely in the frickin' movie, and when they are, you don't care about them because the movie hasn't.
They're usually racial caricatures, by the way.
Yeah, a lot of times they end up being racial caricatures.
What's up? What's cracking, little bitches?
Oh my God, yeah, in this day and age, why am I so surprised? Especially coming from Mr. Michael Bay.
Who I found out recently is regarded as a top-notch visual artist by many of his Hollywood contemporaries.
Yes.
Which doesn't... I'll buy that, but it doesn't mean he knows how to tell a story.
No, not by any stretch of the imagination. It means he knows how to point a camera, and he knows how to frame a shot.
Sure,
which
he can be technically brilliant as far as, like,
yeah.
camera work goes.
But, not with these movies, though. Just because, again, it's really hard to tell which robot is which when they're fighting, and even if you didn't care because the movie has not set up any sort of backstory or reason for you to care about them. I mean, there is a backstory there, but they just kind of toss it at you really quickly, and then it's back to Shia LaBeouf going, hey, and just this is the thing with those movies. They try to be funny. They try really hard to be funny, and they're not funny at all. Nothing in those movies is funny whatsoever. You've got unlikable characters trying to be funny, but they don't come off as funny. They just come off as hateful-filled beings, and it's just...
But wasn't it funny in the first movie when Bernie Mac sold him a car? And
Bernie Mac, another scared black man.
But wasn't it funny when Optimus Prime said, "Oh, my bad," when he almost stepped on their dog or whatever?
Oh, I was rolling in the aisles. I was
Well,
actually trying to roll away from the
But
screen
wasn't
to
it
the
funny
exit.
in the second one when Sam's parents eat pot brownies, which they bought at a bake sale?
Which they bought at a bake sale, and then she gets all hyperactive and tackles people, which is
exactly what happens when you're on marijuana.
Yeah, so when
marijuana.
When you're on the marijuana, you are empowered and you will run around. Good job, filmmakers.
Yeah.
What a bunch of friggin' idiots. I try really when I discuss movies, even ones that I don't like, I try really hard most of the time to not be outrightly mean towards movies, because again, a lot of movies out there, even the bad ones, oftentimes a director or writer, they did have a vision, and maybe just it wasn't a good idea. A lot of work goes into it. Nobody deserves any love for being involved with this movie at all. There no respect should be shown to anybody that was involved in the making of this. They're just outright insults. They're insults to the masses out there that, I am not a total film snob. I love a good summer blockbuster like anybody.
I liked Michael Bay movies. I really like The Rock.
The Rock is fantastic. It's a fun movie. Exactly. I mean, I don't have a problem with a big summer blockbuster, but I will have a problem with one that is just absolutely offensive in trying to pass itself off as a working story when merely it is just a bunch of bad jokes strung together by subpar CGI. I don't know. It's like I'm getting a headache just talking about these movies right now. There are no redeeming qualities whatsoever, aside from the fact that, Megan Fox is kind of hot.
I don't actually even think she is.
Oh, you don't? Well.
I think she kind of looks like she would taste like hot garbage, but...
Megan Fox, if you're out there listening, yeah, slap him, but I'm the one that thinks you look good, if it's worth anything, which it isn't. Anyway, moving on.
Moving on.
What else do we have on the list?
So, I have a couple others to talk about that, both of these, actually, we went to see together. One of them, you dragged me to.
Oh, yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay, but we do have to discuss it. It's, this is a movie that I didn't expect it to be great. I kind of went to see it on basis of it had Marvel characters in it.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, I'll give it a shot then. But being that Daredevil wasn't very good, I didn't expect Elektra to be very good. Especially, I think I walked by the poster when we were on our way into the theater, and like on the poster, it was just like random Japanese characters that were like meaninglessly strung together. It was like Wind, Heart, Fire Girl, something like that.
Oh wow!
I was like, oh jeez.
Oh boy.
And so this is the really frustrating part, is that the first 10 minutes are like, oh wow, this might actually be pretty good.
Totally.
There's like that cool scene where the guy's just waiting for her. He knows she's gonna come and assassinate him.
Right.
And he can hear all his like defenses failing and his guards dying.
Yeah.
And then she comes in, she does it, and it's like, oh wow, that was like a cool sequence.
It was really cool. It was lifted out of a comic which I had read that had been released a while back, and they nailed it. It was like right to the T, and I was like, oh wow, that was really kind of thrilling, and really setting up her characters being like a force to be reckoned with, and
right.
And it's all sort of downhill from there.
Right, and it's like even at that point, it was like, all right, well, this might be promising, because I got no beef with Jennifer Garner, and she did an okay job in Daredevil. Outside of and this is all not her fault stuff. Like
right.
the characterization was a bit like I famously we always will discuss the she's discussing her backstory with Matt Murdock, and she's like,
right.
My father had me train with a different sensei for 1 year.
Yeah, for like 9 or 10 years or something like that.
I was like, well, you must be really bad at martial arts.
So you're really mediocre at a bunch of different styles then.
Right.
Because I don't think you're going to master style in 1 year unless you're some sort of genius.
Which maybe that was the anyway.
I guess, I don't know.
So, anyway, we have her then going on another assassination mission, but I think I'm trying to recall exactly the details. I think that she's supposed to assassinate the guy, but then she sees his little girl and kind of falls in love with both of them.
Right. Well, I mean, not in like a bad way or something like that.
Well, falls in love with him and
wants to take care of the
wants
little girl. To mother the child.
And then meanwhile, we have Man, it's really hard to. Okay, so we have the pajama ninja is somewhere in
Yes,
the mix.
the pajama ninja.
There's the main bad guy of the movie. I will either call the blanket ninja or the pajama ninja because
Yes.
he just wears all white, big, flowy, puffy things.
Yes.
And he has a little entourage with him that's supposed to be badass.
Yes.
Is mostly just really hilarious.
Yes.
Including one guy whose power seems to be balancing a quarter on his finger.
Yes, when you first see him, he's just walking along, all badass, and he's got a quarter balanced on.
Like awesome music in the background,
Yeah.
slow-mo, like walk-in sequence, and there's this jackass like balancing a coin on his hand.
And then I think in like the first scene where he encounters any sort of action, like he's killed outright. So.
Oh yeah, he's the first one to die.
Yeah.
He doesn't do anything.
Because he has no power other than to balance that stupid coin on his friggin' finger.
So anyway, just like.
Yeah, Typhoid Mary, who, it was great.
Oh, she was in it.
Yep, Typhoid Mary was in it, and it was really cool in the trailer because she kisses Elektra, and, that stuff's A-okay in my book. But, again, nothing much comes of her in the end.
Basically, like,
Tattoo guy was in there.
Tattoo guy. Everything just goes downhill. It's like everything. A is predictable in that it's like, it's predictable that she's just gonna like find her heart, her goodness, and like try to protect these people.
Didn't realize she was bad though. I mean, why is she searching so hard? I mean, I guess because of that assassination at the beginning. I don't know.
I guess I don't know, man. And then just
it's like
really disappointing action sequences. The final action sequence is actually her just stabbing around randomly until she hits something.
Yes.
And just like people having no concept of what. Okay, so she uses two sais. That's her main weapon is two sai.
Right.
And if you don't know, sai are like they're an extremely defense-oriented weapon. They're meant to disarm people. People started using those in Okinawa because you weren't allowed to carry a sword as an Okinawan because you were an oppressed farmer who didn't get to wear swords and be a samurai. And still, samurai would come around and try to bully you and maybe rape and pillage a bit.
Yeah.
And so they secretly developed weapon forms, including one for the sai, which is just I think the top of a pitchfork or something that they broke off and decided to use as a weapon. Because that's same with nunchaku, same with the bow. That's all found stuff around, and it's just supposed to be a way to lock up a sword and disarm somebody, which you do see in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles sometimes. There's a really there was a really good CGI movie where Leonardo and Raphael they always butt heads. They had a really good fight. And Raphael just takes his swords away. I think he breaks them using the sai.
Nice.
That's how you use a sai.
Yeah.
She's cutting people with them, and I can see you can stab somebody with them certainly, but at one point she just oh, this is what you do.
The movie. Oh yeah.
She walks up to a chained up fence. And she just cuts through the chain with the sai. It's got a big edge on it that you could just hack through a metal chain.
And there wasn't any question on whether she could do it. She just knew that she could do that.
This works. Here we go.
Well, because the movie hates you, Nick.
It does hate me, and it specifically included a line in the script where she tells the little girl who's gonna go play with the sai. She's like, "Don't touch that. It's an offensive weapon."
Yes! I turned to you in the theater with the biggest shit-eating grin on my face, and I was like, this is the exact opposite of Kill Bill. Whereas you said that Quentin Tarantino basically made those movies for you.
It felt like somebody made a movie for me. I was just sitting there a big, huge, wide open grin on my mouth the whole time watching that movie.
And this is just
this is the antithesis
an
of that,
absolute, deep frown and just in utter pain, and then they threw that line at you, and I was so happy and sad at the same time because I felt sad because I dragged you to it, and because I didn't outright hate Daredevil when I first saw it. I thought it was
I went through a period of denial.
I think I
wanted it to be.
Yeah, I think I went through a period of denial as well. It is a bit of a shoddy movie, but for the most part, when it first came out, I did defend it.
Looks like Citizen Kane next to Elektra.
Yeah, just a little bit. And plus it had Colin Farrell in it as Bullseye, and it's just,
You got me drinking hand.
And me drinking hand. Oh, God, yeah, no, it's... Yeah, Electra. I'm so sorry again that I
Well,
dragged you there.
These things happen. I think I got you back for it as accidentally as you had gotten me in the first place. I think I dragged you out to something that
I'm sure you have.
I'm sure I have. I don't remember what.
I'm sure you have, but
What else we got here?
what else do we have? Indeed, here's one that I famously do not like, and I am the only person on the planet that probably does not like this movie.
What's that?
E.T. the Extraterrestrial. Do not like that
Oh
movie.
yeah.
Do not
I
like
forgot
that
about
movie
that.
at all. Didn't like it as a kid. Don't like it now as an adult. It's just so creepy. It's just so friggin' creepy, and this is almost sort of a backwards compliment to Spielberg in such a way, because the movie is incredibly well put together as far as like story structure and believable characters. Like, he can direct actors, to give very believable performances, and these actors in the movie did that.
Mhm.
They're very believable, creepy, unlikable performances. I don't like anybody in that movie. Elliot especially. I mean, just that scene where, spoiler alert, but you should have seen the movie by now.
Yeah, it's from
when,
1980. or
Yeah,
whatever.
come on, yeah. When E.T. is dying, supposedly, and, like, the government doctors are, like, trying to save him and stuff like that, and Elliot is just in the background, "No, you're killing him! You're killing him!" If I was the doctor in that scene, yeah, this movie pisses me off sometimes. If I was the doctor in that scene, you know what? I would have stopped everyone from doing what they're doing, like, all right, everyone, stop. Let's let the kid take a crack at it. All right, kid, see what you got. Save them. You seem to know more about this than me. What are you gonna do? What was he gonna do? Go over and play doctor, with his little toy
Sounds
medical
like,
tools and stuff like that?
Sounds
It's
like it would be a Family Guy cutaway there.
I guess I don't know. It's just that movie has just always left me very unsettled. It's just creepy, unlikable characters that just all throughout the movie you're just listening to them, and Elliot.
So you don't want to cuddle up with E.T.?
No! Elliot gets drunk via a psychic link with E.T. and then causes chaos in his class and then forcefully kisses a girl. I mean, this is presented as something whimsical, and it was just horrifying when I watched it. So, I am very much in the minority when it comes to this. And I will recognize, again, that it's a very well put together film. It looks really, really good. So technically it's fine, but story-wise, I can't stand that movie. And again, I am in the minority. Do you like E.T.?
I actually have no opinion. I haven't seen it since I was a little kid, and I remember liking it then, but who knows how I feel about it now.
Fair enough.
I know you're not alone in being at least creeped out by E.T.
Yeah.
I know we have a few other friends that just find him to be like,
he's not the most cuddly character of all time, but whatever. I mean,
so here's one I can remember. I can count the times on one hand I've walked out of a movie. Here's one that you and I we also saw this together. Remember when we walked out of 30 Days of Night?
Oh my God, yes, I do remember that.
And I think as we were leaving, somebody behind us was like, "Thank God," because we were just like,
yeah, we couldn't really control.
We couldn't
ourselves. Shut
up about how bad it was.
Yeah,
but it was really bad.
It was really bad, and I will say I don't normally like to do that in a movie. It's a comment on it too loudly. Because I do respect 99.9% of the time the movie-going experience. This was an exception, and I think it was just, the movie was just so frustrating, like, it was just hard to keep it in check.
Well, because it should have been good, and as I understand it, I think I've read the graphic novel that it's based off of, and I remember it being pretty good.
Alright.
But, this is another thing, just that's a personal thing of mine, I found out later about this.
Uh-huh.
I hate it when they whitewash in movies, when they take a character that's supposed to be ethnic and make them white just because white people go to movies. And,
yeah.
Anyway,
Argo, you get a pass on that just because you're a really, really well done movie.
Right on. So, but yeah, the main character's supposed to be, I believe, of Inuit or whatever native Alaskan descent.
So they cast Josh Hartnett.
Josh Hartnett, who, when I think Inuit, I think Josh Hartnett.
Oh, totally. It's like, he is of that race and,
so the set,
culture.
Yeah, of course. He's, skinning.
Where has Josh Hartnett gone?
I don't care.
True enough. Anyway, back to 30 Days of Night or whatever it's called.
So 30 Days of Night, and the setup for the movie is actually really, inventive and cool. It's basically it's a town in Alaska,
Right.
and it's in it's basically the sun's about to go down for a whole month.
Yeah.
Because of where they are. That's how it is there, and everybody, you see like the townspeople kind of making provisions. Some people leave. Some
Mhm.
people are just looking to stock up because things are going to get very cold and so
Yeah.
on and so forth. And as they're going through this process,
Drifter.
a drifter comes into town, a vagrant, and starts saying like horrible, pathetic things in the town square. I don't know why.
You're all going to die. That kind of
That kind of business. Yeah. And then as night descends, so do many vampires who then begin to kill the residents of the town.
Yeah.
Here's my big beef with the movie. And my beef with so many vampire movies, but specifically in this case, because that to me that's like, oh cool, they're the vampires cut off communication. They can just have a party here for like a whole month.
Yeah,
that's
not have to
awesome.
worry about it. Yeah.
They don't do that though. They just start running, and these are like not the cool, creepy, sneak around in the dark vampires.
Yeah.
These are like running around at high speed, superhuman, rip your head off vampires, and that's all they do. They're spilling everyone's blood all over the ground all the time, running around howling and screaming like mad instead of like being subtle and sneaky.
Right.
I'm like, why are you spilling all the blood on the ground? That's your food. Why are you alerting everyone to your presence? Wouldn't you rather they don't know until like they're almost all gone? Like
this has been like a scary movie where it's just like, I haven't seen Bill Turner down the way in a day or two.
Yes.
I wonder if he's okay over there. We should go and investigate. Nope, we're here. Yeah. So it was sort of a poor, laborious setup. Again, it was an interesting one, but and then the final payoff was just. I don't know, it's just standard stuff.
I guess we don't know what the final payoff is because I think we walked out after 45 minutes of the movie. But
yeah.
But just seeing the monsters in action was just like, man, this is terrible. Like,
it was
why
asinine.
did they go this way?
Yeah, it was absolutely asinine. So much potential there.
Yeah.
I don't really...
And just to say real quick, like that's my problem with a lot of these vampire movies is like we've talked about this a lot about Dracula and how I've never seen a Dracula movie done the way it's supposed to be in the Bram Stoker novel. The way it's supposed to be in the novel is that Jonathan Harker gets to Castle Dracula, and he's been a little worried because all the villagers are like, dude, don't do it, you're gonna die, please, and like praying over him and being like, no, don't go in there. Yeah. But then he gets in there, and it's so beautiful and welcoming and warm.
Absolutely.
And he has no idea that he's in the lair of a monster.
Right.
And the monster himself, Dracula, he just seems like a wonderful old gentleman.
He's like, yeah,
that's how it's supposed to be. Why would you stay in the place if it's super creepy?
Walks in, there's cobwebs everywhere, and Dracula is practically
Gary Oldman with his huge fingernails.
The children of the night. It's like, okay, I'm gonna mail you those documents to fill out, and you just mail them back to me. I'm gonna stay in the village at a hotel. Yeah, exactly. Why would you stick around? It's not very smart on the vampire's part to scare away your prey as soon as they set foot in the frickin' door, Exactly. Welcome in, and I think only one movie has gotten that right, really, and that was the Christopher Lee Hammer movie, The Horror of Dracula, if I recall correctly.
Did they do it right in that one?
Yeah, I think you had commented on that, didn't you? Did you see that movie?
I did see that one. I do remember other things about the movie being super cheesy. So
yeah. Overall, the movie is not exactly a cinematic gem. Well, it is in some ways. There's some very silly things going on in that movie. But yeah, no. When Harker first gets to the castle, it's Dracula's like, why don't you come in? I've set up a delicious meal, and everything looks beautiful in the castle and stuff like that. And he's like, oh, good. After a long travel, sit down for a meal. And then I'm starting to sound like Peter McNichol from Dracula. Then something again. I'm here, the initial here. But yeah, no, exactly. That's the way it's supposed to be friggin' done. And you're right. No other Dracula movie has ever,
including the classic ones,
ever gotten it right. Yeah. Exactly, including the classic ones. Speaking of vampire movies and bad ones at that, the Twilight movies suck.
Well, yeah, I mean, like that barely is worth repeating. Barely needs to be said.
No, I'm gonna repeat it one more time. The Twilight movies suck. There are no redeeming qualities to them whatsoever. If you like those movies, you like bad movies. The end. Anyway, moving on.
This is my entire experience with Twilight movies. This is the only exposure I've had to them. Is that recently I was hanging out with a lady friend, and we had some adult beverages, and we were in pass out mode, and she was like, "I'm gonna throw on a movie," and we threw on Twilight for some reason.
Because you're a scholar and a gentleman, that's
I
why
suppose
to
because
let
I'm
her
a
do
gentleman.
that. Yeah.
And so I passed out really quickly as Bella was explaining her terrible backstory. And then I woke up, and it's a scene where Bella and Edward are out to dinner or something.
They're at a. I've seen this movie actually.
Yeah.
Don't ask why, but
They're at a restaurant, and she goes to him, "I'm going to need some answers," and he's like, "Yes, no, square root of 22," and I was just like, "I need to get out of here." Like that's all I can handle. That script. That's exactly all I can handle.
You are a smart gentleman to do that. Yeah, those movies are dumb. There's no redeeming qualities to them whatsoever. I gave the first three the benefit of the doubt because I'm a lot nicer than I sound, and I do believe that movies should be given chances. That's why I've seen all three Transformers movies. Because, people have thrown that back at me like, I think the Transformers movies are stupid, the Twilight movies are stupid, why do you keep watching? And it's like, because you never know. Maybe the next one won't be as bad. Because I will say this about the Transformers movie, getting back a little bit.
Sure.
Michael Bay and his folks, they know how to construct a trailer that looks good. Like, I saw the trailer for the first Transformers movie, I was like, wow, that looks really good. And the movie sucked. The trailer for the second one came out, and I was like, wow, maybe they kind of learned their lesson with that one. And it really, really sucked. And then the third one, I don't know. I should have just known it was more the same. But there was one scene in the trailer which looked like really epic and awesome. And I was like, maybe they learned that. No! And so, yeah, I don't know. So call me stupid, but I like to think of myself as fair.
I will. The one thing I will say about Twilight in its defense as a franchise, or at least in defense of women who like Twilight.
Yes.
Okay, so I think I've never heard it summed up better than one of my intelligent female friends who I respect said.
Give a shout out.
I think it was Sarah Weisample said this.
Okay.
So thank you for that, Sarah. If you ever listen to this for any reason, said I enjoy Twilight the same way I enjoy Twinkies. And I was like, okay, all right, I get that because let's face it, like I watch a lot of anime and
right.
They don't always portray female characters in a strong or respectful way.
What? No.
So if women want to, engage in this series that's about like, it's because let's face it, Twilight is about like wanting to get with the bad boy.
Yes.
But not wanting to get killed by the bad boy, and in trying to explore that, they have made vampires really wussy.
Yes, you have ruined the figure of the vampire, Stephanie Meyer. Thank you so bloody much for doing that.
Well, it's been around a long time before. It's gonna be a long time after her.
I know.
People are still making movies like Let the Right One In.
Yes.
It's all
Okay.
good.
Yeah. You get little gems that have tried to breathe life back into that genre. Let the Right One In being a prime example. I haven't seen the American remake, so I can't speak to it. Let Me In.
I haven't seen it yet either, but I heard it was pretty decent.
Yeah, I've heard good things and bad things about it, but Let the Right One In is top notch. Also, there's a Korean movie out there called Thirst.
Yes.
Directed by it's Park Woo-chan. Is that
I think that's the order.
Okay, yeah, Park Woo-chan. It's a wonderful Korean movie about a priest that gets turned into a vampire, and it's top notch. So I definitely recommend it. But yeah, Twilight. I hate you. I hate you so much, and I think you said this, Nick. I find a little perverse joy in the fact that Mr. Pattinson, now that the series is coming to an end, has just been completely bad-mouthing. I guess some people would say, well, shouldn't he be held accountable for being in it? I was like, he made a lot of money. What do you want?
Yeah.
He's a working actor, Pattinson got to get paid.
Yeah, exactly. No, and same as John Turturro. It's like,
oh, exactly.
I get it, man. Get your money,
Get your money, pay the
pay
bills.
for your kids' college.
Yeah, pay for your kids' college, pay the bills, and then take the time to go do something artistic that might not be nearly as profitable, but, will fulfill you as an artist.
Right.
And know that you can do it comfortably without having to worry about losing money because you just made a shit ton from doing that CGI piece of crap.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. What else don't I like?
I mean, I can definitely tell you another one.
Let's choose one more to expound upon at length, and then we'll maybe we can follow up in a later episode with more. We can do a part 2.
Well, I'm gonna cheat then.
No.
I'm gonna mention 2 in the same breath because I saw them back to back in order to like just pull it off like a Band-Aid.
The rules, man. Okay, go ahead.
I've altered the rules. Fred, I've altered them.
Nice.
So in the same weekend, I was like, all right, I just got to do it, and I watched Wolverine Origins and Dragon Ball Evolution back to back.
Oh, you poor man.
Now Dragon Ball Z was such a huge part of my adolescence. Like it was high school for me, and Wolverine is my favorite comic book character.
Right.
And has been for a very long time, and they're both so bad. They both just take the thing you love and just like rub its face into poo. To really briefly relate to you why, because I don't want to take up too much time here, but basically Dragon Ball, if you've not seen it, if you've managed to avoid Dragon Ball, and it's about a young boy who is incredibly strong,
right,
to a superpowered level, but he lives out in the country away from society, and so he doesn't even know what a girl looks like when he meets a girl for the first time. And he's been living on his own since his grandfather died.
Oh.
And he engages in a wild adventure when this girl comes by looking for the Dragon Balls, which are a set of 7, and they're an artifact that if you gather them all together, you can make
Dragon Ball Stew. No, I'm kidding.
You can make any wish that you want.
So you can wish for Dragon Ball Stew.
I suppose you could.
Anyway,
they didn't do that. They turned the movie into Spider-Man.
Oh no.
And basically, it's about a young boy going to high school named Goku, who even though he's stronger than everybody else, he's constantly picked on.
Oh no.
Because he can't show them he's stronger than them.
But it's like a mythical fantasy high school, right? Like, I mean, they don't like
not really
like jeans and a t-shirt.
No,
or
they
something.
do that.
Oh.
And just if I can sum up in any way, it's this. So Goku is supposed to be just like this really high energy, super positive, very hopeful character who like never backs down and is very sure of himself.
Well, I'll give it a try.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Not in a cocky way, just like, oh, well, we've got to give it our best. And I saw the trailer, and it was this guy just going like, this hobbit-faced kid they got to play Goku, being like, I don't know if I can do this. And it was like, no! No!
It's the exact opposite. Love it! I mean, I don't love it, but I just... I don't know.
You love my suffering.
You're a good friend, but sometimes I like it when you suffer.
Great, thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
And then with Wolverine Origins, it's just like,
Jimmy.
They do a really terrible version. They do a really terrible opening sequence that's supposed to be a portrayal of the actual comic Wolverine Origins, which is a really great story about how Wolverine became Wolverine.
Yeah.
And then the whole rest of the movie is Sabretooth, who inexplicably is now Liev Schreiber.
I love you, Liev Schreiber. You're a fine actor. I was even curious as to how you might do in this role.
Just not right for it.
You're physically not right for it.
And especially when we've had Tyler Mane, who's giant. He's a wrestler, I think.
So physically, he's perfect for the role.
Right. But how did X become Y here?
It's steroids in the interim.
Okay.
A lot of steroids.
If you want your main character to be like seen as a badass, don't have somebody, an older brother type character, calling him Jimmy the whole movie. If you want your character to be really badass and you want to show this like berserker, unrepentant slasher side of Wolverine that we've all grown up with. I've grown up with.
Right.
That many of us have been waiting to see.
We got a little bit of that next too.
Right, and you tease that in your trailer by having him be like, if I go on this mission, there's going to be, what is it? No code of conduct.
Yeah, no code of conduct, no holds bar. I will not hold back.
And then instead of like beating people up and like slashing through people to get answers, he just like is like, hey buddy, let's talk.
Yeah, why don't we talk? Yeah, whenever a confrontation does happen, he's like, no, I don't want to fight. I want to talk.
It's just some information.
It's like, what are you? Wolverine's Quagmire this.
and then of course.
Well, hey, Sabretooth.
how they got Deadpool exactly right in the first opening sequence of the movie,
Right.
and then completely ruined him by the end of the movie, to the degree where I will not refer to him as Deadpool in that movie. His name is Dude Peel.
Dude Peel.
Basically, if you don't know who Deadpool is, he is a mute. Well, he's not a mutant actually. He's a
mercenary.
He's a mercenary who's been given a healing factor by the Weapon X program.
Okay.
So he heals super fast, and he is kind of like Spider-Man in that he's just like always bantering and always with the wisecracks.
He's the merc with the mouth.
But he's unlike Spider-Man in that he's a mercenary and an assassin, and he will definitely kill people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so he does that in the beginning of the movie. There's a great sequence where Ryan Reynolds, who's perfect for the part, he like slashes through a bunch of guys. He's like slashing bullets in half, and he kills them all. And then he like looks back at his team, and he's like, "Okay, people are dead now. You guys can come in." And it's like perfect.
Classic Deadpool.
And then the next time we see him, his mouth has been sewn shut. He's been lobotomized, and they gave him a horrible mishmash of everybody's superpowers.
Just like Deadpool in the comics.
Just like Deadpool is in the comics, yeah.
Because he doesn't really talk that much anymore.
Wolverine Origins is so bad that at one point the characters of Wolverine and Sabretooth look at each other and say in all seriousness, "Okay, back to back." And then they fight back to back.
Only I kill you, Jimmy. I was really holding out hope, again, that Liev Schreiber would be really good for the role of Sabretooth, just because I respect him as an actor.
Oh, he's
so
great,
much.
but...
He's great, again, intent-wise, and the acting is certainly there, but...
Well,
again,
he tried to make Sabretooth a Shakespearean villain, and it's not what Sabretooth is.
No, he's a big mutant that likes to say things like, "You saw it off, little runt."
Yeah, he should be your horrible drunk uncle.
Yeah.
That beats you whenever
smacking
you come to visit
Wolverine
him.
around and be like, "Hey, you little runt, you're no match."
Soft little runt.
So, well, that's how he sounds in the animated cartoon as well, for the most part. But, Liev Schreiber, as much as I really wanted you to excel in that role, I think you were, in the end, a little miscast. And, Hugh Jackman, I'm sorry that happened to you as well. Because, Hugh Jackman is when they do it right, he's a good Wolverine.
Yeah, I got no problem with Broadway Wolverine. He's good.
Stop calling him Broadway Wolverine!
I will never stop calling him Broadway Wolverine. That's who he is.
Fine. He is Broadway Wolverine.
Broadway Wolverine's going to be very good in Les Mis, too, I bet you.
Fantastic. With Russell Crowe, whom I actually just read in an article that Russell Crowe kind of helped nudge him in the door for the part of Wolverine.
Broadway Wolverine taught robots how to fight last summer.
Shut up. Just shut up. Nick went and saw that Rock'em Sock'em Robot movie starring Broadway Wolverine. I didn't see it.
It's called Real Steel.
Yeah. I didn't see it. I can't comment on whether it is good or bad.
It was awesome if you like robots punching each other. And I do.
Anywho, there was an article about how Russell Crowe had actually nudged Mr. Jackman in the door for the part of Wolverine.
Oh, that's
as
cool.
Russell Crowe was Bryan Singer's first choice for the role of Wolverine.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
What do you think, man? Do you think he would have done a good job with that?
Maybe, yeah. I mean, he's definitely...
He's got the gruffness, and, so I think he could do it. But he said no, and then he said, while saying no, he's like, but hey, I got this buddy of mine named Hugh Jackman. You should really bring him in and test him for the role. I think he'd be really good at it.
All right, they got the Aussie connection, eh?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Jackman had said in an interview, he was like, oh, yeah, I had known him for years, before I, made my stake in America and stuff like that.
I forgot that really that's kind of where he blew up, really, Hugh Jackman.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he had done a lot of theater prior to X-Men, but nobody goes to theater anymore, unfortunately. Anywho, I'm just kidding. We both grew up with theater. We love it.
You're kidding, but it's kind of true.
It's kind of true. But yeah, no, X-Men. That's exactly where he blew up. He donned gun and blew it up. But yeah, so thank you, Mr. Russell Crowe, for introducing us to Hugh Jackman, who, when directed properly, is a fantastic Wolverine.
Yeah, no, he's
good.
And I'll always respect him for at least in the original X-Men movie, he at least did enough homework to realize my character says bub constantly. Why doesn't he ever say bub in the script?
Yeah.
So they're like, well, we just thought, and he's like, no, give me one bub.
Yeah.
So they gave him one bub.
Yeah, he added a bub in towards the end. Hey, bub, I'm not finished with you yet. So, and then I think they learned the lesson with that, and he says it, much more frequently in the later movies. We're running out of time here, so we're gonna cap off with our discussion on those two wonderful pieces of cinema. The one that I was going to talk about, and we'll save this for a later time, is I'll give you a little homework assignment, and y'all go out and find this movie and watch it. Many of you might have already seen this movie because it's not that obscure, but this is one that came out and I really hated it, and everyone I knew that saw it with me liked it, and I just turned to them and I was like, you're all out of your fucking minds. It's a movie called What Lies Beneath, starring Harrison Ford and Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yes.
Go out into the world, my young Padawans, and find this film. Watch it, and on our next episode, I'll talk about why I really, 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 really hate that movie, and we'll see if you agree with me. We can compare notes through YouTube comments and comments on our website, www.nerdtopiacast.com.
Oh, that sounds swell.
Oh, hamburgers! I just want to jump on her tummy. Butters, get out of the studio.
Get the hell out of the cast, Butters.
Oh, but what about the... yeah. All right, we're done here. I am your host, Greg McIver, and with me has been...
Nicky Boom Boom.
And we will see you next time.
This has been a production of the Nerdtopiacast Internet Network. Be sure to check out more podcasts, videocasts, and articles at nerdtopiacast.com.